Okay, today we're going to do practice C, which is simple harmonic motion of a mass spring system. Now, we talked about masses and springs earlier in the year, but now we're going to look at the period. So the equation for all the problems we're going to do today is the period T is equal to 2 pi times the square root of m over k. So m is the mass and k is the spring constant. Okay, now in some of the problems there might be a combined mass. In some of the problems they're going to give you the weight. So you have to remember earlier in the year that weight is mass times gravity. So if you're going to substitute the mass in this equation, you have to rearrange this equation if they give you the weight to find the mass. Okay. Also on one of the homework problems, problem number I think it's problem number 4. You have to use the spring constant. It says from practice C, which the sample problem is there, but you have to work out the sample problem to get the spring constant K to then do problem 4. Okay? So it's not just everything plugging stuff in formulas. All right, so let's look at number 2. So number 2 says when a mass of 25 grams, so we're going to write our given, the mass is equal to 25 grams. Now, we don't use grams. We always use kilograms. So the first thing I want to do is I want to convert that. So here's my decimal point, 1, 2, 3. So the mass is equal to 0.025 kilograms. Then it says, and it's set into vibration with, I'm reading the problem. It takes 20 complete vibrations in 4 seconds. So let's think about this for a second. Let's say I'm not sure what that is. If you write stuff down, it makes it easier for you to conceptualize. So I have 20 vibrations in 4 seconds. Now, if you remember yesterday, I said vibrations per second, cycles per second, oscillations per second. Those are all frequency. So now frequency is 20 vibrations in 4 seconds, so 20 divided by 4 is 5, so it's 5, and 1 over a second is a hertz. So that's my frequency. So even though they didn't use the word frequency, and they didn't say the frequency is 5 hertz, they told you you have 20 vibrations in 4 seconds. And by writing vibrations in 4 seconds like this, it lets you see that, oh, that's going to be the frequency. And then it says, what is the spring constant K? Now, the equation that I just showed you today was T is equal to 2 pi times the square root over K. And there's no frequency in that. But also what we learned is that frequency and period are the reciprocal of one another. So now, instead of writing T, I'll just write 1 over F is equal to 2 pi times the square root of m over K. Now, I want to solve for the spring constant that's in the denominator. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to just start plugging in numbers. I'm going to rearrange the equation to solve for the unknown in terms of the known, K, because that is in the denominator underneath the radical. If you try putting that in your calculator, you're not going to get the right answer. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by 2 pi. So now I'm going to have 1 over 2 pi f is equal to the square root of m over k. And now it's pretty simple. It's kind of like what we did yesterday. So now I want to get rid of the square root, so I'll square both sides. So when I do that, I'm going to end up with 1 divided by 4 pi squared f squared, remember I have to square everything, is equal to m over k. Once I get to this point, I cross multiply. So I have k is equal to m 4 pi squared f squared. And now I simply substitute in my values. 0.25 times 4 times pi squared times 5 squared, and I get my answer.
It's 0.025.
Oh, thank you. 0.025. Now, if I do it on my calculator, I might end up getting 24.65, but I can round it to two significant figures to 25. And that's it. Now, if you take shortcuts and you start plugging in numbers, you know, the whole point of doing your homework is to practice. So on your homework, you should write as many steps as possible. So this way, when we have the test, you're prepared because you've already practiced and followed the steps, and you don't just copy what I have on the solutions on the homework. You actually physically do the algebra yourself. Because when you actually do the algebra yourself correctly and you actually do it instead of copying it, then you'll be able to do it on the test and you'll get a good grade. Now remember, we're going to have a quiz. So anyway, that's it with this problem.